You believe something that's a complete lie. You believe that if you stop watching, if you stop managing, if you just stop for a moment, if you step back for any moment, that the whole thing's going to explode and fall apart. You've made yourself the last line of defense between them and the outcome. You've made yourself the last line of defense between the addiction and the chaos it's going to cause. You've made yourself the last line of defense on somebody else's behavior and choices. And you're wrecked because of it. That's not love. That's survival. And how long have you been in survival mode? Did you know survival mode wasn't meant to be that long? It was meant for fight or flight. It was meant for a certain situation. You have to survive in the moment. Your anxiety kicks up, your adrenaline kicks in, and you go and you survive. But what happens when you're doing it for 14, 15 years? It's not love at all. It's survival. Now, we talk a lot on this podcast about being stuck because it's the first part. Being stuck is the first part of trying to help anybody out of the situation. You're stuck. You can't move forward. You can't get your feet out of the mud. There's many people that comment. There's many people that need information. I send them everything. There's even people that join the community and come on in. And you know what? They never move any further from that because chaos is normal. Well, today I want to do something different. I don't want to talk about being stuck. I want to talk about walking forward, what that can look like in the first phase of getting healing. Let's break that down today. I'll see you on the inside. Welcome to Reclaiming Your Identity, a podcast dedicated to providing hope, healing, and support for married individuals whose spouses are battling addiction. Rooted in the truth of your identity in Christ, this podcast offers practical guidance and biblical insight to help you navigate the challenges of addiction within your marriage. Here we'll find encouragement and embrace God's plan for restoration in your life. Let's walk this journey together, one step at a time. I want to tell you about a night that really bothers me. I don't talk about this much because it still hurts. Yes, I'm healed. Yes, I'm transformed. But this night and what transpired out of it hurts. Still to this day. Almost 14 years ago, it still affects me. You see, my ex-wife was in a car wreck. And she had our 3-year-old son in the car. And it was something she just normally didn't do. She didn't go out at night. And what happened, we never know. But she just decided to get higher than a kite, get in a car, put her 3-year-old in the car, and go wherever she was going to go. The kids thought she was okay. She was laying on the couch. I was out of town. And the kids ended up going to a basketball game. And everything was fine. And apparently, she just went off the deep end. She went off the road. And she struck a tree. I'm Steve. This is Reclaiming Your Identity podcast. This is a podcast for people like us. Those that are walking in the midst of hell with somebody that is battling an addiction. I don't know if you're partnered with somebody that's having an addiction or you're married to somebody that's having an addiction, but this is a place where you can feel comfortable and learn about getting unstuck. If you would, just take a moment, like, subscribe, comment. It really helps push this podcast to other folks that need to hear this conversation. And if you would do that for me, I'd be greatly, greatly appreciated. And I hope you stay till the end of this episode. And I'll get back to the story here in a second, but stay till the end of the episode because I have some resources I want to get in your hands, and I just want to invite you into a place that can help you get unstuck today. Let's go back to the story. So she went off the road and hit a tree. Thank God both of them, minor injuries, were okay. And I ended up talking to my kids on the phone. A pastor went and helped them at the hospital, and the kids called me panicking. They thought it was their fault, and it was hell. It was chaos. And I remember driving all night to get home. And I arrived at 6 a.m. And I walked in, and she was sitting on the couch. And I just remember saying, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. It was right before Christmas. And I said, you know what? I will take the boys Christmas shopping today. I will get the rest of the stuff for Christmas. I will make Christmas super special for the boys. But after that, I'm done and I'm leaving. I don't know what it was, but I just finally had the power to say I was done. I just started my healing process. I just started going to a Christian counselor. And I just started to process what codependency was, and just started to process, wait a minute, this is controlling me, and I'm trying to control an addict. And it just clicked at that point that must have been my rock bottom. That must have been the point that God just opened my eyes and said that you've got to stop this. You're going down with the ship. So I'll spare you the news of the long fights that we had all that morning, and the denial of not taking any medication, the denial of not being under the influence and crashing off into a tree, the denial and the fights and I've never ever wanted to hurt somebody as much as I wanted to hurt her that day. And I'm just being honest with you. I didn't do anything. I didn't lose control, but I'm telling you, in my mind, I've never ever wanted to hurt somebody as much as I wanted to hurt her. I don't know if it was the anger at her with our 3-year-old in the car. I don't know if it was the anger of her just denial and taking medicine, or it was the complete anger in me that I can never control this after 13 years. I don't know what it was. But all I know was that I was done. A light switched and I was done. So I took the 2 boys. One was about 15 at the time, and I took the 3-year-old with us, and we went shopping and had a good time. And the older boy was off with his friends doing something, but we spent the day, had lunch, did all this great stuff together, tried to bond, didn't talk trash about their mother, didn't do anything like that. I was just loving on my kids, realizing that I was really starting to realize that I made a huge mistake. Huge mistake. And I wanted to get better. I knew I wasn't going to go home that time and jump right back in to trying to control it. That was it. That was the switch. It was over with. So we came home, and guess what? She was higher than a kite. Again. She had just totaled our car. She had just totaled it with a 3-year-old in the back seat. Both kids were fine. Thank God they were fine, but she just went through this. We just went through a fight, and she just denied everything, and I came home, and she was higher than a kite again. I was so mad. I was so devastated. But in the middle of all that, something inside of me went quiet. Something inside of me said, hold it together this time. I had to manage it correctly. I had to keep my kids safe. I had to do this the right way. Because I realized if I didn't, who would? And this is the point of the story that hurts. I was giving Nathan, the toddler, the 3-year-old, I was giving him a bath in the tub. He was just playing. I was just sitting there, watching him play with his toys. And out of nowhere, in his little toddler voice, he said, "Mommy, me crash." And I'm like, "What?" He said, "Mommy, me crash. Mommy, you okay? Mommy, you okay? Mommy, you okay?" He kept saying that over and over. I was devastated. I've never cried so hard in my life. I felt like such a failure. I felt like I let my kids down. I felt like I was a piece of shit. It hurt. It hurt badly. You see, I was seeing clearly. I was gaining clarity. And for just a moment, I saw a clear vision. And it hit that I needed to stop. I can't live in chaos anymore. And I realized I was dragging my entire family down with it. Not just her, not her addiction. I'm not going to blame it all on her. My codependency was destroying my family just as much as she was. That was the night that I understood something I want to give you today. That's the night that I understood what was going on. And I want to give it to you because it changed everything in my life moving forward. And I want to give it to you today. Can I go to the Bible for a moment? I want to talk about how good God is and how much He's in all of this. Even though you don't feel Him, even though I completely walked away from Him at this point. I didn't believe in Him. I thought He didn't want to help me. And I thought He was just a mean God. But He's not. And I want to read this to you. This is Psalm 127:1. It says, "Unless the Lord builds the house, the builders labor in vain. Unless the Lord watches over the city, the watchman stays awake in vain." This verse names exactly what I didn't understand until the bathtub moment. I made myself the watchman. I made myself the builder. I made myself do all these things. I was the last line of defense for the addiction and the addict. I made myself that. Through codependency, I made myself that. And it was all in vain. It starts out as a genuine care and love for somebody else. And you want to help them. You want them to get better. You love them. You want to see them happy and move on together with the life that you dreamed about. But it turns into a watchman. It turns into a builder that is doing everything in vain because God is no longer in the picture. You think you're not inviting Him in. You're not doing any of this stuff, and you're doing it all yourself in vain. As the watchman, I was vigilant. I was managing. I was always one step ahead of the disaster before it happened. Or so I thought. But watching everything for a threat all the time, your entire life, isn't protection. That's what survival mode is, that we talked about at the beginning. And survival mode has a cost that nobody wants to warn us about. It doesn't actually stop any damage. You're in this survival mode forever, but what has it done? You're a watchman watching. You're a builder that builds in vain. What have you stopped? What have you done? You're still in this. You're still stuck. I don't know how many years later you're in this, but I was 13 years into this. I never stopped the damage. It just kept going. And in fact, I added to the damage. Survival mode just puts us in a situation where we witness the entire thing. We get to witness it up close. We get so exhausted. We get alone and we're convinced that we are the problem. We get convinced that it's our fault. We can get convinced that we didn't do enough. We get convinced that we could have prevented this somehow. I couldn't prevent that car wreck. I wasn't in the car. I didn't make her choose to take medicine and drive. I didn't do any of that. Her choice that day was hers. Just like every other day 13 years prior to that. It was her choice, not mine. But survival mode had trained me to believe that the outcome depended entirely on how well I managed the situation. So when the worst happened, I just didn't grieve it. I felt like I failed at the job that was given to me. That's the lie that we talked about at the beginning. That's the lie underneath it all that we're living. That is the lie that takes us down. If I just watched it closely enough, if I wouldn't have gone out of town, if I did this, if I did that, if I did any of these things, it would have never happened. It's my fault. The watchman stays awake in vain. I started to set correct boundaries, helpful, healthy boundaries after that. I wasn't going to be sucked into the addiction anymore. I wasn't going to be sucked into fights anymore. I wasn't going to be sucked into any of that anymore. I made a clear choice to break the tie that day. And I want you to hear that. You have to make the choice. It's not liking something on social media. It's not requesting information that you never do anything with. It's not joining a community that you don't poke around in. It's not any of that. It's making a clear choice that you don't want to live like this anymore. To finish off the psalm, God has to be inside of all of it, and you have to understand that everything that you're doing on your own without the power of Him behind you is in vain. You have to know your identity. You have to know that codependency is not your identity. You have to know the addict is not your identity. The addiction is not your identity. The lies are not your identity. Jesus Christ is your identity. You were made in the image of Him. And once you can believe that and live in that and understand that, you have the power. You don't have to sit on the wall being a watchman in vain every single day of your life. This is exactly what phase 1 of the Walk Right community is. The Walk Right community is a place I built for us, for people that are married to, partnered with somebody that is battling an addiction, and we're stuck, and we can't get out, and we live in the same chaos day after day after day. Phase 1 is designed to help you get out of that survival mode, to help you flip that switch. I don't want something bad to happen that switch flips. You see, if I wasn't in counseling and she still had that wreck and I was still in that situation, I would have just said, I got to manage this more. Now I'm going to take away the car. Now I'm going to do this and that and this to get her to stop. But I was in the healing process. I started to understand what codependency was. I started to set it down, and that's where I got the power to change that. You have to start the healing process. You can't just say, oh, well, I'm going to wait for something bad to happen to me and then I'll go. No, you can't hit rock bottom. Get out now. And I don't mean get out as mean leave the relationship. I just mean get out of the chaos and start to get some clarity. Survival mode convinces you the outcome is your job. Walk Right starts by helping you find where that actual line between you and what is yours not to carry starts. You're never meant to carry their backpack. You're meant to carry your own backpack. You can help them with their backpack, but only from a healthy situation. But you were never meant to carry all their burdens and all their trauma. Why are we doing that? This is what I want you to hear. You were never really capable of preventing what you've been so damn exhausted about. You were so exhausted trying to prevent something that you can't fix. I couldn't stop the wreck. I couldn't stop the next relapse. You can't stop the next relapse. You can't stop them from making bad choices. You can't stop them from doing what their trauma is allowing them to do. You can't fix that. No matter how hard you try, no matter how hard you say you love them, no matter how scared you are, what's going to come on the other side if you find healing and clarity. Phase 1 of this walk right method helps you protect, which actually is yours to protect. Your peace, your identity. It's to protect your kids if you have them. Your own capacity to still have a life in the middle of all this crap. It's not surrender to addiction. That's not what it is. It's surrender to a job that you took on that you were never ever applied for, that you never wanted. It was given to you. The watchman doesn't stop watching because he stops caring about the city. He stops standing guard all night alone on a wall that was never his to hold up by himself. That's what that means. And that's what the community is for. The Walk Right method is there for you to just start to look at what codependency is, how you could start identifying how it's in you and how you see the patterns. And then it helps you start to learn that God is with you and that you can find clarity and hopefully get that switch that you can turn off and say, you know what? I'm finally going to step out of chaos. Doesn't mean we're breaking up, doesn't mean we're separating, doesn't mean anything like that. Right now, it's just about you stepping out of the chaos, stepping into some clarity, and figuring out how you're going to move forward once your mind clears up a little bit more. That's all what the free community part is for. There's so many courses, there's worksheets that help you deep dive into who you are that will help you get unstuck, but you have to want to do it. You can join a community today, great, yay, but if you don't do anything, you're just going right back to what you know. Survival mode. You have to want it. I can give you all the resources, I can give you all the tools, I can give you everything, I can make podcast after podcast after podcast after podcast, but if you don't get off your butt and actually want to change, you're not going to. And this is the rest of your life. I want to help you get unstuck. So if you would, just go to partnersofaddicts.com. There's so many resources there. There's a way to get to the community. There's 3 guides on there that are free that will help you. Navigating Love is the one you can start to understand codependency. That's a great place to start. There's a couple of courses on there you can take if you're not ready to, you just want to search around, just take the couple of courses that are there. And if you're not ready for any of that, there's a link to a guide I made. It's a journal. It's called Walking in the Midst of It. It's a 90-day journal that will help you identify the same patterns you're doing over and over and over in this addiction. It'll help you identify what you're doing, and it'll help you set it down. If nothing else, just please come to the site, partnersofaddicts.com, sign up for our newsletter. You'll get a great devotion from me, and you'll get encouraging stuff from me. I don't flood your inbox, I promise, but it is something that can help you understand that God is with you in this. You were never meant to be a watchman alone, and you were never meant to hold up that whole wall by yourself. God wants to help you. Of course, he wants to help your partner, your spouse. He wants to help them and get free. But you know what? More importantly, he wants to help you, because helping them is between them and him. You can't convince him to help them anymore because they've got to be the ones that say, I need help, God. So let's just work on you. Let's forget about the addict. Let's forget about the addiction. Let's forget about survival mode and just get healthy for ourselves. I want to thank you for listening to this episode. If you have any comments, please feel free to reach out. This one was a doozy. I'm glad that I can share from the bottom of my heart to you, and hopefully it helps somebody. This isn't for the Steve show. This is my heart crying out to yours, saying, please stop destroying yourself. Please stop destroying your kids. Don't let the devil win. You can get out of this. You don't have to spend the rest of your life doing this. Thank you for being here. And I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. I'm Steve, your host. As always, you are loved. You're holy. I'll see you in the next episode. God bless.